but they just might be a little confused by it. Suleyman the First. We see Suleyman the First is going to rule for a long time, 46 years in government, and he is considered one of the greatest sultans ever. But as we'll get to at the end, he also winds up dooming the Ottoman Empire. Dun, 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 dun. But we'll get to that later. So, Suleyman, under his reign, the Ottoman Empire is going to be richer and more powerful than it had ever been before. He's really at the height. There will be a little bit more expansion after him, but the biggest gains are under this guy. Now, Europeans all refer to him as the Magnificent. So Suleyman the Magnificent, which we talked about, is kind of like awesome, great, which is kind of cool because he's going to often be at war with Europe. He's going to go to war against the Austro-Hungarian Empire. He's going to go to war against the Holy Roman Empire. He's going to make a brief alliance with France, and then like the French are like, I don't know if we really like this idea. So he and Europe did not really get along, but yet they're still going to call him something like the Magnificent, which kind of speaks volumes about this guy right here. Typically within the Ottoman Empire, he was called the Lawbringer because he is going to reform the laws. I mean, right? Who saw that one coming? He's going to say, okay, we just can't have Sharia law. We need to have a really good, strong law system to make sure we rule this vast empire. And we're going to see a picture later on about how stinking big it winds up getting to be. Another cool thing that he does, besides going and improving the laws, much like, we talked about Justinian, how he fixed the laws. Some people put parallels between him and Justinian. He is going to wind up going and saying, we probably should make more money than we spend. That's what balancing the budget is, saying we aren't going to spend more money than we make, because unfortunately, many governments say, oh, we could just print the money, make the money, let's just make some money. And then they spend way more than they're actually making, which is problematic. I mean, there's a reason why our country has like $4 trillion of debt and stuff, which is pretty crazy. Anyways, he's going to go reinforce Islamic teachings, and let's face it, has an incredible hat, which probably really is like, Nalea saw the hat and she's like, hey guys, this is, clearly Suleyman the Magnificent. I mean, check out the hat. For a wax museum, I had a student actually be Suleyman, and yes, had the hat. It was amazing. Okay. So Suleyman says, we're going to make the capital a capital not only for commerce and the government, but for art, music, writing, poetry, philosophy. If you were a talented artist or a wise philosopher, he made sure to bring you into his court. He paid your bills. And like I said, he was a poet himself and wrote lots of poetry about love. And actually, love is what's going to end the empire. You're thinking, Kenny, wait a minute. You're telling me the virtue we hold most dear at Frederick Classical Charter School, love, destroys an empire? And yes, it does. For you see, Suleyman dared to love. The sultans had what was called a harem. And this is basically, he had a lot of wives. Mostly they were concubines, which, long story short, are essentially secondary wives that were probably slaves. And he fell in love with one of them, named Roxolana. Tradition says she had beautiful red hair, was very pretty. She was probably either Polish or Ukrainian. She was some sort of Slav. And she was a slave. And basically, Suleyman saw her, said, I want to marry her. And he does. Suleyman has children with Roxolana, but they're not his oldest. And they're to a concubine, not to his queen. Now, Raj, can you stop that, dude? Because it's really like inappropriate, and it's like something that I'd probably talk to your mama about, like if you want to keep it up, if you get my drift. Thanks. So he goes, and he already has a son, Mustafa. Everybody loves him. He's talented. He's capable. He's strong-minded. Mustafa is going to be the next sultan. But Roxolana whispers in the ear, oh, honey, wouldn't it be so nice if our son was the sultan instead? And of course, Suleyman, he's torn inside. He says, but Mustafa is going to be the next sultan. I mean, he's the oldest. It makes all the sense. Honey, wouldn't it be so nice if our son is the next sultan? And you see, here's part of the reason why, too. The Ottomans had a tradition. All right, Eli, you have an older brother, right? What's your older brother's name? You have 4 older brothers. Give me one of their names.
Scott.
Scott. Scott's supposed to be the sultan, okay? Scott's a great guy. We all love Scott. Scott becomes the next sultan. Guess what happens to all of Scott's brothers and their children? Because you see, Scott can't have you deciding later on, Eli, that you should be the sultan. You saying that you should be a sultan would start a civil war. So in order to save life, they end the lives of anyone who could potentially have a claim for the throne. Make sense? It's like, just like you said, you got to make an omelet, you got to crack some eggs. So to have no chance of civil war, they kill all of the people that could be sultan. And so when Roxolana is saying, wouldn't it be nice if our son is sultan, is saying, I don't want our son to die. Mustafa should die. But Mustafa was everyone's favorite. So Suleyman tests Mustafa, gives him an order. He doesn't obey it right away. So clearly that means Mustafa, as Roxolana is suggesting, is planning on betraying him. Some say that Suleyman did it himself, and some say that he had a servant do it, but Mustafa was found strangled, killed. Because Mustafa had betrayed, then Mustafa's son also was executed. So Suleyman's grandson. And sure enough, Roxolana's son does become the next sultan. And what happens to all of the other sons? They're all killed. Now, Mr. Kenny's class, you might be thinking, okay, how does this doom the emperor? So, Suleyman happened to go have his son killed and then his grandson killed. Okay, how does that end? Well, Suleyman breaks the tradition of having the eldest son become the next sultan. And what that means now is, it doesn't mean Scott has to be the next sultan. It means Eli could be the next sultan. They have a little brother that hit Mariah in the face during the last class, which I was shocked about. He even could be the next sultan, despite what he did to his older sister. Anybody could. So that means now those princes, do you know how you ensure you're the next sultan? By killing your brothers, obviously. So it starts the tradition where now the only way to become sultan is by murdering all of your brothers, which means, are we going to have necessarily the best sultans coming into power? No, we have the ones that are the best at being devious and murdering each other, which is not really a great trait. Remember when we were talking about Rome? Well, you probably don't, because it was during continuity of learning and I only had like half of you actually paying attention. But if you were one of those half paying attention, you realize at the end of it, how did Celeste become emperor or empress? Because she killed the last one, Mamma Mia. That's right, she killed her own sister to take the power. And then how does Delicia become empress? Because she killed Celeste. How does Jackson become emperor? Because he killed That's how they did the transition of power for the last like 70, 80 years of the Roman Empire. And now we see this is how, for the next 300 years, the Ottomans are going to have their next sultans. This is bad news bears, folks. Now, on the bright side, Suleyman built many palaces, he built mosques, he built infrastructure. So he did a lot of good with that. Rewrite the laws. He had cultural, the Pax Ottomanica. Now every place we go, they're like, oh, we got the Pax this, the Pax that. Well, we have this huge amount of literature, arts, and scientific achievements happening under the Ottoman Empire. I mean, truly, it was an awesome time. I mean, he and his Grand Vizier Ibrahim could do anything. Now, of course, Roxolana also then told Suleyman, hey, Ibrahim, he's trying to be sultan, and he's just your vizier. You can't trust that, can you? And, of course, Suleyman also had Ibrahim killed. I know, his best pal! Oh, man, they went on so many adventures together, but, of course, he, too, had to die. So, happy note there. Here's some art. And then here is the territory of the Ottomans. And we see under Suleyman, we have this yucky green color. I don't know how we would describe that. It is, he expanded way into Europe. He gets almost capturing the Habsburg Empire, at Vienna. He keeps on getting pushed back. Goes way into Mesopotamia, gets more North Africa. It's just a dandy old time. So that is our notes for the day, and I am stopping the recording. Now, I will